Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 48, The Rogue Three-Man Team and the Author Celebration Event. After roughly understanding the situation, Morofushi Hiromitsu hung up Komaeda Nagito's call and contacted his childhood friend who was still undercover in the black organization. Bourbon. He addressed the other person by their codename in the liquor factory. This way, even if someone overheard, they would assume that it was an informant, a perfectly normal scenario since Bourbon was an intelligence agent, right? Having a few informants wasn't that unusual. Amuro Toru, who called himself that in front of Komaeda Nagito, with his real name being Furuya Rei, a Japanese police officer, raised an eyebrow. Speak, what happened? Morofushi Hiromitsu then relayed the information he had received from Komaeda Nagito to Furuya Rei and asked, is this an action by the FBI, or is it an action by the organization? Furuya Rei was speechless for a moment. I'll go inquire a bit. What a mess this all is. Could it really be that Akai Shuichi saw a stalker and then just decided to be a hero? And why is it Komaeda Nagito again? It's only been less than a month since they met, yet why does it feel like he's everywhere? Furuya Rei went to make some inquiries. That traitor over there, leaving the organization's intel in that room? Furuya Rei immediately understood. You made Rai go look for the intel. The police have already gone there multiple times and found nothing. Are you using revenge to settle the case? Rai is an undercover agent sent by the FBI, Akai Shuichi. Vermouth lit a cigarette. Back then, it was Tequila chasing after the target, because he couldn't find the chip on that traitor's person. So, based on the way he circled the house for half a day, it's presumed that he hid the chip somewhere in the house. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough time for a thorough search. Now that things have calmed down, we have Rai go check it out. But why are you asking about this? Still not getting along with Rai? That Scotch credit originally belonged to me, Furuya Rei said without changing his expression. If it had been me, we might have been able to capture him alive and get some intel. But that Rai guy acted too fast. After sending Vermouth off with a casual excuse, Furuya Rei fell into deep thought. The data stolen by the undercover FBI agent. If only the Japanese police could get it, that would be great. Harboring the idea of taking advantage of the situation, Furuya Rei went to his subordinates to find information on this incident, intending to see what the situation was. The result was shocking. No wonder this case was only officially announced as a simple burglary. That stalker turned out to be more than just an ordinary stalker, it involved a major case. Now, the entire police department is busy because of the USB content submitted by Komaeda Nagito. This is essentially a massive killing industry network, on a completely different level compared to both legal and illegal organizations, practically delivering achievements to their doorstep, and everyone was quite enthusiastic. The USB's owner, being a witness to the blemish, was put under protection. Considering he hadn't killed anyone, only joined the wrong company as an innocent rookie for less than a month, they might later help him change his identity, and then reintroduce him into society. This case has nothing to do with the liquor factory, it was just because the USB was in Komaeda Nagito's hands that, when they went looking for it, they unfortunately ran into the FBI. Based on the liquor factory's habits, in fact, Akai Shuichi should have killed this person, but maybe because he was acting alone without any other organization members watching, the other party didn't clearly see his face, so he nearly just knocked them unconscious. Theoretically speaking, an illegal intruder, even if they wake up after he leaves, wouldn't have the courage to report it. The organization wouldn't know what had happened and naturally wouldn't suspect that he was being merciful and acting out of character. However, he didn't expect someone to report to the police. But fortunately, this Saito case is quite large, entering a classified mission. Akai Shuichi's actions have not yet been exposed to the organization. After reviewing the materials, Furuya Rei used Amuro Toru's mobile to contact Komaeda Nagito, saying he hoped to visit his house for a bit. The Japanese police had instructed officers not to pursue the unlawful entries anymore, so the police had left, making it convenient for Amuro Toru to take action. Komaeda Nagito naturally agreed, no need to be polite. Please, make yourself at home. Though there's still a bit of a smell inside, I hope you won't mind. After disguising himself, Furuya went to Komaeda Nagito's new place in the late afternoon, when the sky started to darken, and found the door unlocked, so he went straight inside. At the time of the incident where Tequila was pursuing the undercover FBI agent, Furuya and Morofushi Hiromitsu were occupied with other urgent work. They only heard that an undercover agent had been killed, but the specific circumstances were not very clear. After all, the organization was extremely secretive, and it wasn't possible for him to keep track of every member's mission. The Tokyo Metropolitan Police treated this case as an act of revenge and closed it, so the police didn't pay further attention to related matters. But now, if Furuya knew this, then he would definitely want to take a look. After all, based on the investigation of the murder case, there must be many clues left behind. It's just that Akai Shuichi, according to Komaeda Nagito's description, probably didn't have enough time to find it. In other words, he still had a chance. The study room was unnecessary, likely just a diversion. Besides, the books had all been collected and sold off. Therefore, it seemed that examining it wouldn't leave too many traces, except for a few spots. Furuya had already planned out his own investigation route. Unlike Akai Shuichi, he knew the homeowner and had plenty of time to search slowly. He felt that his chances of finding it were still quite high. Holding on to that thought, Furuya entered the room, wordlessly eyeing the other intruder. "Oh, Bourbon-san, long time no see." The youngest executive of the Port Mafia, Dazai Osamu, sat leisurely with his legs crossed on the sofa left by the original homeowner in the living room. "Dazai-kun." Furuya took a deep breath. "Why are you here?" Dazai Osamu tilted his head and laughed lightly. "After finishing work this morning, I wanted to go find Komaeda-kun to hang out. After all, the boss did say we should stay in touch frequently, didn't he? But when I got there, I found out that Komaeda-kun hadn't returned to Yokohama this week. After that, you came to Tokyo?" Furuya rubbed his forehead. "Komaeda-kun isn't here, ah. All that talk about staying in frequent contact." He didn't believe that Komaeda Nagito and Dazai Osamu were truly friends, especially since the Port Mafia boss Mori Ogai was actively encouraging Dazai Osamu and Komaeda Nagito to get along. No matter how he thought about it, it seemed suspicious. Unfortunately, he had a weakness in the other party's hands, so he didn't dare say anything. "Of course, I've already looked for Komaeda-kun. I know he's at the Kudo residence," Dazai Osamu said. "I didn't expect something this interesting to happen yesterday, so I thought I'd come see for myself." Furuya fell silent. Why didn't Komaeda-kun mention that there would be others visiting? Dazai Osamu, seemingly seeing through what Furuya was thinking, rested his chin on his hand and casually said, "Isn't it clear that for Komaeda-kun, he'd naturally lean towards me from now on?" Furuya recalled that time on the gambling ship when Komaeda Nagito dragged Dazai Osamu away so that he could continue his work, and his expression subtly shifted. Is this guy holding a grudge? Unexpectedly, building a good relationship with Komaeda-kun at a critical moment turned out to be very important. But still, as the top of the police academy, Furuya analyzed Komaeda Nagito's personality a bit, and keenly realized that Dazai Osamu was deceiving him. "Actually, it's just because I didn't tell Komaeda-kun to do me a favor and let me know if anyone else comes, right? Then you tell Komaeda-kun to do you a favor and make sure he doesn't tell me?" Furuya calmly said, "But with just that, Komaeda-kun won't agree. He would be more inclined to satisfy both of our requests simultaneously, which means not affecting any party. You also tell him that you know my identity, so it won't affect me carrying out my mission." As expected of Japan's ace police officer, Dazai Osamu clapped lightly. "You really understand Komaeda-kun's personality well, huh?" Furuya let out a breath. "Not talking about that, did you discover anything?" "There it is." Dazai Osamu displayed the chip that was wedged between his fingers towards Furuya. "Is this what you were looking for?" Furuya's gaze turned sharp. "Where did you find it?" "The toilet." "I figured as much." The toilet had fewer traces of disturbance, and with the murder weapon left at the crime scene, the police's attention was all focused on the study, drawn by what seemed like an attempt to leave behind a clue. They overlooked the possibility that the deceased might have hidden something. No one would bother to search seriously, especially for something as small as a chip. It could easily be hidden anywhere. Considering that after death, the landlord might sell the house, many furnishings could end up being disposed of, so it's best not to hide things in these pieces of furniture, to avoid making it harder for those searching for information. Therefore, moving out typically doesn't include taking the toilet, which makes it an ideal place to hide items, like in the water tank. It seems at first glance that one could see to the bottom without suspicion, but in reality, there's a mechanical structure that conceals the view, and most people wouldn't consider hiding such intricate items in water. But as long as waterproofing is done well, it doesn't actually need to be too complicated. A plastic sealed bag with a seal, and hiding the chip in the water tank is truly quite convenient. At the very least, it successfully deceived the Tokyo police. Although the police's goal wasn't to find the chip, and they wouldn't pay attention to such a mundane detail, it still requires strengthening education. Furuya-Rei tossed aside the thought of adding more lectures for the police members and focused on the main task at hand. So, Dazai-kun, what will it take for you to willingly hand over the chip to me? Dazai-Osamu let out a soft chuckle. Well, that's something you'll have to ask yourself, dear police-san. What kind of deal do you plan to offer for the chip in my hands? Furuya-Rei narrowed his eyes slightly. This issue, are you representing the Port Mafia, or just yourself? The youngest executive of the Port Mafia lazily leaned on the sofa. Myself. Furuya-Rei's eyes brightened, attempting to say, you and the boss of the Port Mafia, is there perhaps some discord? If there really was discord, this would be big news. Maybe it could be used somehow. You're overthinking it. Dazai-Osamu reminded, I just don't want to let Boss Mori benefit too much, that's all. With this level of deal, Mori-san doesn't care, while I look out for my own welfare. Besides, give up on that thought. Even if I really wanted to switch sides, I wouldn't join the police. Even the police wouldn't dare to take you in. Furuya-Rei snorted. Alright then, what do you want? Let me make it clear first. I'm not someone who would be willing to get this chip no matter what, so make your demands reasonable. Dazai-Osamu directly threw the chip to Furuya-Rei. Put it on hold for now, we'll discuss it when the time comes. Deal. Furuya-Rei agreed without hesitation. After all, with Dazai-Osamu's cunning intelligence, it wasn't likely he'd agree to anything unreasonable, and Dazai-Osamu wouldn't demand anything too excessive either. Agreeing to a personal request from Dazai-Osamu was much better than owing a favor to the boss of the Port Mafia, Mori Ogai. Ah. Furuya-Rei returned and handed the chip over to the Japanese police, allowing them to decode the information inside. No matter how much they could gather, it didn't matter much. After all, before paying any major price, it was equivalent to nothing. Who knows, Dazai-Osamu might already be dead before making his request. It still felt worthwhile. Sharing the same train of thought as an insurance company, Furuya-Rei, after returning to the black organization, even used this incident to claim credit, beginning to lie with a straight face. Rai rarely makes a mistake, so I got curious and investigated a bit. Based on my intel, it seems the Japanese police have noticed something's wrong, and it looks like they want to take over yesterday's matter, planning a full investigation of the house. Vodka immediately started playing his supporting role. We can't find Rai, we can't find tequila either, but we're sure the item is in the house. The Japanese police have also sensed something's wrong. What should we do now, big bro? Jin took a drag of his cigarette. Burn it. Huh? Vodka tried to grasp the meaning. Do you mean burn the entire house directly? That's right. If we can't retrieve it, we should simply destroy it, Jin sneered. No one gets it. That's one way to resolve the problem. Surely that traitor wouldn't have hidden the chip underground, would he? Vodka admired him endlessly. Big bro, you're so wise. On the other side of the phone, Furuya-Rei. The truth is, this operation was quite normal, very organized. At first, they thought they might be able to steal it back, without alarming anyone, which would be ideal. Seeing how it failed, they decided to abandon the low-profile approach and return to the terrifying organization's usual style. Although hearing about this operation, Furuya-rei wasn't too surprised, but this was the house that Komaeda-kun had just bought. Thus, Komaeda Nagito received a call from Furuya-rei. Home insurance? Komaeda Nagito answered curiously. No, originally, I should have bought it together when buying the house, but the insurance company blacklisted me. Is something going to happen to my house? While at the Kudo residence, holding Kudo Yusaku's book, Dazai Osamu, lying on the couch across from Komaeda Nagito, suddenly smiled. Furuya-rei faintly heard the laughter, and immediately knew it was Dazai Osamu. His heart sank slightly, but he still patiently said to Komaeda Nagito, "That's right, it's likely your house can't be saved. I can't disclose the specific situation. Is there anything you want as compensation?" Komaeda Nagito thought for a moment. No need, I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing what kind of luck this misfortune of my newly purchased house burning down will bring. Furuya-rei was speechless, and could only turn around and instruct someone to look for another house for Komaeda Nagito, looking for an opportunity to make it up to him. After Komaeda Nagito hung up, Dazai Osamu put down the book, suppressing a laugh as he said, "Your house has to be burned down?" Didn't say it had to be burned. Komaeda Nagito pondered. But talking about destroying something, burning is the most common method. Dazai Osamu also agreed with this view. After all, he had planned several fires himself, all for the purpose of destroying evidence and the like. Looks like you're going to have to stay at your junior's place for a while, Dazai Osamu chuckled, but there are other ways. Komaeda Nagito tilted his head. What? I can testify and say that you're an ability user, and then the special division will probably send you back to that detective office next door, Dazai Osamu mused. Ah, but speaking of which, you'd definitely be under surveillance, so wouldn't it be really inconvenient for me to come find you? Komaeda Nagito gave a bitter smile. Ha ha ha, please don't joke. Clearly having no ability but still forcing oneself to pretend to be an ability user is truly blasphemous, and so disrespectful to real ability users. It's only natural that I got slapped around. Dazai Osamu. Shouldn't the focus be on being under surveillance? Even though the number of times staying with Komaeda Nagito was quite frequent, Dazai Osamu still found Komaeda Nagito's reactions sometimes very interesting. By the way, Dazai-kun, don't you have work today? Komaeda Nagito asked curiously. It feels like Dazai-kun always has a lot of free time. Because most of the tasks are already arranged well, what's giving me a headache right now is actually teaching my disciple, Dazai Osamu complained. That guy Akutagawa. Komaeda Nagito's fingers twitched slightly in a way that was not easy to notice, but outwardly, he still calmly asked, Akutagawa. That's right. Dazai Osamu looked at Komaeda Nagito with a pondering expression. Akutagawa Yunosuke, do you know him? I don't know him. Komaeda Nagito sincerely replied. Just recognizing a fellow person with a similar family name. Dazai Osamu made no comment. I see. He changed the topic. Oda Saku submitted his novel, and it got recommended by the editor for a major award. Did you know about this? I know. Speaking about this topic, Komaeda Nagito's emotions visibly surged. As expected of Oda-sensei, truly talented. That editor is so lucky, to be Oda-sensei's editor, it's really enviable. Ango said he wants to hold a celebration party for Oda Saku. Ango is also a friend of Oda Saku, just so you know, do you want to go? Komaeda Nagito smiled shyly. Inviting me? He added, I haven't really done anything. Dazai Osamu interrupted him, just say if you're going or not. Right, Oda Saku often talks about you, saying that you helped him review his manuscript, and he's very grateful. If you don't come, he'll be really disappointed. Oda-san is just being too polite. Komaeda Nagito hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Well, I'll respectfully accept then. Dazai-Osamu cheerfully concluded, "Alright, tomorrow I'll let you know where to go." After casually chatting about a few strange things that had recently happened to Komai de Nagito, Dazai-Osamu disappeared into the night. Dazai-Osamu is truly someone who suits the night. When he wears a black suit and walks out into the dark night, a kind of dark charm suddenly emerges, yet in front of Komai de Nagito, that side of him rarely shows itself. Kudo Shinichi waited until Dazai-Osamu left before going downstairs to find Komai de Nagito. Facing Dazai-Osamu made him truly restless. This kind of situation, knowing full well that the person opposite should be imprisoned, yet unable to find any evidence, while the other party always has that provocative look, it was really infuriating. Dazai-Osamu's provocation was clearly intended to make him leave, but hot-headed as ever, Kudo Shinichi fell for it and had no choice but to go upstairs to calm down a bit. However, he was also quite cunning as he didn't close the door, so he could vaguely hear some of what was being said downstairs. "Well, senpai?" Kudo Shinichi asked worriedly. "He didn't make you do anything, did he?" Kudo Shinichi was really worried that Komai de senpai would rush into being used by someone. Even if it wouldn't cost him his life, there was simply no need for it. Couldn't he care a bit more about himself? "No problem. It's just that he invited me to attend an author's celebration party." Komai de Nagito mused. "I'm wondering what kind of gift would be appropriate." Kudo Shinichi. Author? Celebration party? Does Dazai-Osamu actually associate with such normal people? Komai de Nagito didn't reveal much more information, so Kudo Shinichi understood that this wasn't something he should ask about. Although he was a bit curious, he decided to drop the topic and started helping Komai de Nagito think of some ideas. If it's for an author, then paper and pen is a good choice. Kudo Shinichi's father is an author, so he has some say on this matter. Having a good pen, while it may not be an inspiration fountain, at least when you do get inspiration, it won't be hindered by random ink issues that cause frustration, ultimately making the inspiration drift away. Traditional authors still tend to use pen and paper, feeling that placing pen to paper makes them more deliberate. Even when submitting work, seeing a beautifully handwritten piece, traditional editors naturally have a slightly higher regard for it compared to a stamped manuscript. Komai de Nagito initially thought the same way. Kudo Shinichi, as someone dedicated to being a detective, supplemented very seriously, but if many friends give the same thing, like a pen and paper, it can be rather awkward. Moreover, if he's using a computer to type, then this gift wouldn't work either. Has he mentioned if he's lacking anything recently? Komai de Nagito shook his head. Actually there is another way. It might be a bit troublesome, but if you have the money, it should be doable. Kudo Shinichi said, if he's into writing, he probably has a favorite author or a favorite book. You could try to get a signed copy for him. Ah. Komai de Nagito suddenly realized. Natsume-sensei. Kudo Shinichi's lips twitched slightly. He likes Natsume Soseki-sensei's book. That might be a bit difficult. Natsume Soseki-sensei doesn't give out signed books easily. You should either choose something else or just settle for standard pen and paper. Komai de Nagito enthusiastically shook Kudo Shinichi's hand. Thank you, Kudo-kun, for your great help. Previously, when Natsume Soseki accepted him as a disciple, Komai de Nagito had requested an autograph before he left, adding it to the book he and Oda Sakanosuke discussed the most. Although he was a bit reluctant, since Oda-san valued it so highly, and considering it might be destroyed in his hands someday, it was better to give it to Oda-san, who would definitely cherish it as much as he did. Too bad it's nighttime, not suitable to go out, otherwise he would return to Yokohama now to get the book. Speaking of which, being enthusiastically shaken by Komai de Nagito, Kudo Shinichi awkwardly withdrew his hand, remembering the question he originally wanted to ask, and tried saying, when you guys chat, is it usually Komai de senpai who talks more? Yes, that's right. Komai de Nagito admitted, smiling. Dazai-kun seems to really enjoy hearing about the things that happen around me. After all, there are a lot of unexpected things, right? It's like listening to a story, and with his work being so tiring, maybe he comes here specifically for a bit of amusement. Kudo Shinichi's expression turned somewhat strange. No way, just to make fun of someone, it's not necessary to come in person, right? Couldn't he just hear it over the phone? However, recalling himself leaving the living room, coming down from upstairs and looking down, seeing that guy with a relaxed smile, Kudo Shinichi couldn't help but wonder. Maybe he really considered senpai a friend? Impossible. Chapter 48 End.